Hey there. So, this Nerdy Whiteboard, I'm talking about Star Wars Last Shot, the Han and Lando novel. I think I'm more going to be wanting to talk about the villain, just because that's a new character that hasn't been in any other Star Wars medium. No cartoons, no movies, no other books, comics that I know of. Really, this book, pretty interesting, by Daniel Jose Older. The cover, I can post a picture of it. You can alternate between a Lando cover or a Han cover, but pretty fun. It takes place over a couple different time periods, which I found a little bit annoying, but I understand why they did it by the end. So as I walk through it, I'm going to be doing this more from the point of view of the villain, like I said. I'm just going to first map out where all of the timelines are. So, prequel trilogy, Solo, and then the original three movies, New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi, as our timeline here to start. This book, it's really takes place here after the original trilogy, with some flashbacks back to right around the prequel trilogy, right before Solo, and a little after Solo. Exactly where this falls, not sure, but that's really all the information you need for this one. So I'll start as far back as I can, just because that's how I like to tell stories. But this is where the villain gets to start. Name is Fyzen Gor. He's a Powan, which means he's from Utapau. People from Utapau, we know from Revenge of the Sith. Let's go a little bit more oval. Yeah. These are the guys on Utapau when Grievous goes there to hide out with his battle droids and the Separatist leaders after the failed kidnap of the Chancellor. These are the guys that help Obi-Wan find Grievous when Obi-Wan lands there. So that guy's name is like Tion Medon, but that's really the only Powan that we ever see with like a speaking part in Star Wars up to Fyzen Gor here. So I'll quick draw the Tion Medon guy just because he's pretty interesting. In like a big robe. Yeah, it's not bad. But, okay, Fyzen Gor. Let me erase that now. Fyzen Gor, he was a medical student in Utapau. He and his buddy Gristo, sounds like Greedo, it's not, two medical students studying, like you could just picture it in like a classroom, just like in our high schools and colleges in the United States or wherever you're listening. Nobody's listening yet, but let me know if you are listening. I'd like to meet you. Okay, so Fyzen Gor and his buddy Gristo. I don't care about Gristo, so he's a stick figure. They're medical students, and they get ambushed in their classroom by some gangsters. They're called Wandering Star. Doesn't matter to the story, really. They get kidnapped, and there's this big caravan. I'm guessing they're kidnapped because they're medical students, and they need medical students for some operation, or they just want them in their gang to be medics. But another gang, rival gang, blows up the caravan. Gor is forced to kill a couple of them to keep himself alive. Gristo is pretty badly hurt. Also, there's this medical droid. Those typically, we've seen these in Star Wars a bunch. They've got like all the arms coming out of them with a bunch of different tools. Looks like a spider, actually. Let's add a couple there. Not a spider anymore. So we'll just call that medical droid. Both of them very injured. And Gor has to make the call because he's injured, and so is his buddy Gristo, whether he saves the medical droid or his friend. And his friend, who had just like laid down his life for him, basically, that was the only way that Greasto got kidnapped alongside Gor's because they came in and said, who's the best medical student here? And Greasto falsely said himself. And Gor ended up getting taken anyway, but he was trying to protect him. But anyways, Gor repays that by ripping off Greasto's arms with a bone saw. Greasto is now dead because Gor feels like the best way that he can survive is if he helps out this medical droid. So he gives this medical droid some like human arms, or I guess Powan arms, organic. Organic is what they're called, but just because it's a lot of droid versus organic talk in this book. So basically this medical droid now has human arms, and this becomes Gor's like forte. He calls him now number 1, also goes by the name, we won't talk about that yet. Spoilers incoming. Greasto's dead. Alright, so now he starts building a lot of these droids. He harvests like Wookiee parts, so there's like some droids that have like Wookiee arms, any other kind of droid. Astromechs, anything he's taken over, and he calls these the Brotherhood of Metal and Bone, stone to the bone. Alright, so these guys, like I said, they're droids with organic arms, and it's like a cult. They're always capturing organics and stealing their arms to give to droids because Gor feels like droids are perfect and organics only make mistakes. So that's really the timeline in the past. There's a lot of adventures between Gor and his droids. Like they get captured by another gang and they have to fight their way out, but that's not super important to the story. The next timeline here is Lando and L3. I'll just write Lando and L3. This takes place right before Solo. You can tell because they're on the Millennium Falcon. And spoiler alert for Solo, they don't have the Millennium Falcon after Solo. And L3, may she rest in peace. So we have Lando Calrissian, which I guess I'll just start by giving him a cape. Why not? Oh boy, big cape. Hello, what have we here? That's Lando, and this can be, that's a short cape. I should have, sorry. Now that's a long cape. Perfect. Alright, so there's Lando's cape. So we know that's Lando. Give him a little smiley face, he's happy. And then L3, so she's got that. I don't really know. She had long legs, I remember that. So, that's the same size legs. Alright, anyways, this is their adventures. Lando is being the ladies' man that he is. L3 says, hey, we need to do something, and I can't really give you the details, because it's about, like, her undercover, like, droid operation. Like, she's a freedom fighter for droids, but Lando drops everything, like, and goes to help L3. It's a really interesting relationship between the two of them. But she takes him to the remnants of this ice moon that cracked and exploded, and now there's like ice fragments everywhere. This is called the Mizzulan Remnants. I can write that. Mizzulan Remnants. I think that's how you spell it. And she wants, there's this like workshop here in the middle with a bunch of dead droids and dead humans that they find. She wants in there because one of her agents was in there, presumably captured by Gor after they talked to him. D9 is the droid's name, not super important. But however, there was an Imperial spy droid in there too, so TIE fighters close in. And it seems like all hope is lost, but all of a sudden, there's this... there is this character, Fyzen Gor, turns out to be, that is taking down TIE fighters, like, in space, like, with a jetpack and a suit on, like, pretty cool. So that's really fun to see, and that's really all we see of Fyzen Gor in that flashback. So, there's, again, more stories. I'm just really focusing on the gore of it all. Alright, so then there's Lando and Chewie. Or no, Han and Chewie, sorry. Or Han, Chewie, and then Sana Staros. Actually a pretty major character here. I only know her from the Star Wars comic series, like the most recent canon series. apparently, like, she and Han were married at one point. That was a pretty big shock, but I don't know too much about her, so I won't talk too much about her. But so you just got Han and Chewie here. San is there, of course. Don't at me, but don't know too much about her, and I'm trying to be brief. There. Let's give him a little bandolier. Okay. These guys, they find Gor, and they're chasing him around some like hotel. He ends up getting captured by Imperials. Who can I draw? A Stormtrooper. I didn't practice that. That's Darth Vader. Oh boy. They've got frowny faces, right? There's a Stormtrooper. Oh god. So they capture Gor. Gor actually ends up turning the Admiral that captured him. Let's just make that the Admiral. Turning him to his cult. So, takes his arms, gives them to a droid, and he still goes around just worshipping the Brotherhood of Metal and Bone. That's that story. Now we are in current times. Let's see if I can wrap this up in 15 minutes. So that is how long I'm allowed to use Screencast-O-Matic. I can always make a second video, but let's do this in 4. Alright, so oh boy. Han and Leia. There's actually a lot of story here. Han and Leia, married after the original trilogy, have a son, Ben. Seeing the sequel trilogy, that turns out to be Kylo Ren. Back to Ben, whole thing. They're living on what's the planet? Chandrilla. It's like the new hub for the New Republic. But anyway, Han goes on a mission because Lando shows up and says, "Yeah, this droid tried to kill me. What's going on?" So Han and Lando recruit a pilot, Taka Jana Serena. I don't remember his name, but let's just call him Taka. Kasha, this Twi'lek that Lando believes is the love of his life. I think there was also a Ugnaught. Florks was his name. And they meet some more characters along the way, obviously Chewie. But they all go on this adventure to stop Fyzen Gor. They know all about him. They both run into him in the past. Long story short, I mean, they get to the Brotherhood of Metal and Bone, and they learn all about the history. There's a cool moment where the guy with no arms, where did he go? I don't know. The guy with no arms ends up like betting with Lando on gambling for Lando's arms and Tan's arms, because he wanted information on Gor, and the only way that this guy with no arms was going to give it was if Lando gambled away his own arms. So that was a fun moment, but otherwise they really all end up in the Mizulan remnants again. So the ice chunks everywhere, and then they're going after this place in the middle. At this point, they've found out that Gor's master plan is to take control of all the droids and have them turn on their organic owners. And this is not a cause, but this is very important to Han that this doesn't happen, because Han and Leia, or Ben and Leia, are left alone with a couple droids. It was like a chef droid, so I mean, it's got knives, big, scary. So they get to the middle of this, called the Phalanx. Gor has this device in here that can transmit kill orders to all the droids in the world. Lando actually is the one that takes a spacesuit and goes in there. Basically, Gor's there, the Phalanx is there. The first droid that Gor ever turned was in there, but it was having second thoughts. Apparently L3 had gotten to it back in a previous timeline and convinced it that it shouldn't go through with Gor's plan. So Lando blows it up. Actually, the device does get turned on at one point, but after he blows it up, everything's good. So Ben's okay. Yay. He can go on and murder thousands, millions, billions, I don't know how many. But anyways, got 10 seconds. That's pretty much the end of the story. Gor's dead. Actually, he gets shot by Han and Taka. Last shot.